What if I told you that some of the most powerful medicines on Earth aren't in a pharmacy 2 miles away? They're growing in the ditch outside your front door. Most people don't know this. Before drugstores, before insurance cards and waiting rooms, the people who lived on this land had figured something out. They had a medicine cabinet stretching from the Atlantic to the Pacific. And it worked. Not because they were lucky, because they paid attention. For thousands of years, they watched the land, tested what it offered, then passed that knowledge from healer to apprentice, until modern medicine dismissed it as superstition, and the world forgot one of the most sophisticated healing traditions ever built on this continent. Modern science has spent 50 years quietly proving them right. These plants aren't exotic. They're not expensive. Most of them are growing within walking distance of where you're sitting right now. Stick around, because number 8 on this list stops bleeding faster than anything in your first aid kit, and it grows in every American state. And number 10 is the plant you're paying to destroy every spring, not realizing it's more nutritious than spinach and more medicinal than half your medicine cabinet. These are your plants. This is your land's medicine. It's time to remember. Actaea racemosa grows in eastern hardwood forests from the Appalachians to the Midwest. Tall spikes of white flowers in midsummer, thick black root below ground. The Cherokee and Iroquois used it for painful menstruation, difficult labor, and menopausal symptoms. Men used it for rheumatic pain and post-fever fatigue. By the 1800s, it was one of the most widely sold medicines in America. Multiple clinical trials confirm it reduces hot flashes, night sweats, sleep disturbances, and mood changes from menopause. European medical guidelines have incorporated it. The mechanism works through serotonin receptors, not estrogen, which means the benefits come without hormonal risks. Make a tea from the dried root. Use it specifically and intentionally, the way the Cherokee did. Not casually, not in large amounts. This is medicine that requires respect and gives real results in return. Frontier soldiers survive brutal winters on slippery elm bark alone. Not desperation, knowledge. The inner bark of Ulmus rubra becomes thick, slippery gel when moistened. That gel is mucilage. It coats and protects any tissue it contacts. The Iroquois, Ojibwe, and Cherokee used it for sore throats, stomach ulcers, diarrhea, and inflammatory bowel conditions, anywhere the body was raw and inflamed on the inside. Modern research confirms anti-inflammatory effects and genuine healing for gastrointestinal conditions. Some gastroenterologists now recommend it for irritable bowel syndrome and acid reflux. Strip inner bark from branches, never the trunk. Dry it, powder it, mix a teaspoon with water into a thick gruel. Drink slowly for throat and stomach. Apply as paste on wounds and burns. In a survival situation, it is food and medicine at the same time. After the Boston Tea Party, colonists needed something to replace British tea. The answer came from the Oswego Nation of the Iroquois, Monarda fistulosa, wild bergamot. They called it Oswego tea. But to the Iroquois, it wasn't a beverage. It was medicine, used for respiratory infections, coughs, sore throats, wound antiseptic, and digestive problems. The chemistry explains it. Bee balm contains thymol, the same compound in pharmaceutical antiseptic mouthwashes. Thymol genuinely kills bacteria and fungi, disrupting pathogen cell membranes. Modern research confirms the antimicrobial, antifungal, and anti-inflammatory properties. That wild oregano-scented plant with shaggy red or pink flower heads growing in meadows across the eastern United States, that's bee balm. Make a strong tea, breathe the steam first, then drink it. The steam treats your sinuses. The tea works internally. The Iroquois were right about a lot of things. This was one of them. Step into a mature eastern hardwood forest in April. Look down near creek drainages. Low to the ground, large heart-shaped leaves just emerging. Part them carefully, and you'll find the small brown flower that gives this plant its name. Asarum canadense, wild ginger. No relation to culinary ginger, but crush a leaf, and the warm, spicy scent is unmistakable. The Iroquois and Cherokee used the root for nausea, cramping, indigestion, headaches, and as a warming herb in cold weather. Modern research confirms antimicrobial and anti-nausea properties. Use small amounts occasionally, not daily. The traditional approach was purposeful and specific. A small piece of dried root, simmered 50 minutes, Makes a tea that works well for nausea, motion sickness, and digestive cramping. Wild ginger grows slowly through forest floors and can be cultivated in shaded garden beds. Once established, it spreads quietly and stays permanently. Part of learning to use what your land offers is learning to look down. Wild ginger is there in the shade of the trees, saying nothing. There was a plant that Appalachian children both feared and were fascinated by. Pop the yellow and red cone-shaped flower into your mouth, chew once, and your entire mouth goes numb within seconds. Spilanthes oleracea, toothache plant. The compound spilanthol creates an intense tingling and then genuine local anesthetic effect on any tissue it contacts. The Cherokee used it for toothaches, mouth ulcers, and sore throats. Modern research confirmed the local anesthetic effect. And something more surprising, Spilanthes has significant immune-stimulating properties. Studies show it enhances innate and adaptive immune response, increases macrophage activity, and has anti-inflammatory effects. Chew a fresh flower at the first sign of a sore throat or mouth pain. The numbing effect lasts 30 to 60 minutes. The antimicrobial compounds keep working after the numbness fades. Grow it easily in warm climates or containers. People who experience it for the first time are always shocked. This is American folk medicine at its most direct. You feel it working in 30 seconds. 6. USNEA, the antibiotic on trees. This is the one I promised at the beginning. Usnea species, old man's beard. The pale gray-green growth hanging from tree branches in forests across the Pacific Northwest and the Appalachians. Native Americans moistened it and applied it directly to cuts and infected wounds. Carried the way modern hikers carry antiseptic wipes. It contains usnic acid, which has documented antimicrobial activity against gram-positive bacteria. Recent research shows effectiveness against MRSA, the antibiotic-resistant strain that kills tens of thousands of Americans every year. The mechanism works through a completely different pathway than conventional antibiotics, which is exactly why bacteria haven't evolved resistance to it. Moisten fresh Usnea and apply directly to infected wounds. Make a tincture in high-proof alcohol for a topical antiseptic wash. Harvest only what has already fallen from trees. This medicine took centuries to develop. It deserves that respect. 7. Boneset, the flu fighter of real epidemics, Eupatorium perfoliatum. Flat clusters of white flowers in late summer, wet meadows across the eastern United States. The Iroquois, Cherokee, and Delaware used it for the same thing, breaking fever and relieving the deep muscle aches of flu. By the 1800s, boneset was in nearly every homesteader's medicine cabinet. Physicians prescribed it during the great flu epidemics of the 19th century. It was that proven, that trusted. The name comes from breakbone fever, the old term for influenza, because the deep aching felt like bones breaking. Boneset could break that fever and ease that ache. At the very first sign of flu, make a hot, strong tea of the dried leaves. Drink it and get into bed. The tea is intensely bitter. That bitterness directly stimulates immune response. It isn't pleasant, but the best medicine was never meant to be pleasant. It was meant to work. 8. Yarrow, the soldier's herb, Achillea millefolium. Named for Achilles, who used it to stop bleeding on the battlefield. The Blackfoot, Ojibwe, Cherokee, and Navajo used it for exactly the same purpose on this continent. Modern pharmacology confirmed all three mechanisms. Yarrow reduces bleeding time and promotes clotting, contains anti-inflammatory compounds, and fights infection at the wound site. It grows everywhere, every American state. Roadsides, meadows, vacant lots, fence lines. Flat-topped clusters of tiny white flowers on feathery stems. Once you know it, you see it constantly. The emergency use requires nothing. Crush fresh leaves, pack directly into a wound. No kit, no equipment, no preparation. You see the plant, you use the plant. The Appalachian tradition kept yarrow in every kitchen garden alongside the vegetables, considered as essential as salt, not a luxury, a basic necessity for any household that intended to handle what life brought to it. 9. Passion flower, the medicine they removed from the books. Passiflora incarnata, maypop. that extraordinary flower-climbing fences across the southeastern United States. The Cherokee used the root for anxiety, restlessness, and insomnia. European settlers adopted it immediately. By the early 20th century, passion flower was listed in the United States Pharmacopoeia as a recognized sedative medicine. It was quietly removed in 1936 when pharmaceutical sedatives took over the market. A modern clinical trial showed passion flower extract was as effective as the pharmaceutical anxiety medication oxazepam for generalized anxiety disorder, with fewer side effects. It increases GABA activity in the brain, the same pathway targeted by pharmaceutical sleep medications, but without dependency or withdrawal. Dry the leaves and flowers, make a strong tea an hour before bed. In small amounts during the day, it reduces anxiety without sedation. It grows wild across the south, cultivates easily from Zone 6 southward, and produces edible yellow fruits that taste genuinely sweet. Medicine that was good enough for the pharmacopoeia, then removed when it became inconvenient for the market. Remember that. 10. Dandelion, the plant you're paying to kill. Or, the most powerful, most nutritious, most medicinally versatile plant in America right now is the one that most Americans spend millions of dollars every year trying to remove from their lawns. Taraxacum officinale, dandelion, brought deliberately by European settlers as food and medicine. The Cherokee recognized its value and incorporated it immediately. The leaves contain more beta-carotene than carrots, more calcium than milk by weight, more iron than spinach. The roots contain inulin, a probiotic fiber that feeds beneficial gut bacteria. The bitter compounds directly stimulate bile production and liver function. Studies show anti-inflammatory effects, kidney support, and potential anti-cancer properties. Young spring leaves taste like mildly bitter salad greens. The dried roasted root makes a coffee-like drink with liver benefits. The flowers make wine. The Cherokee who embraced this plant, the Appalachian families who kept it in their remedy books, the grandmothers who made dandelion soup. They were paying attention to what was actually in front of them. We are the ones who forgot. We declared war on our own medicine and started paying for the privilege of destroying it. Every spring, the dandelion comes back. Through the cracks in the sidewalk, the corners of the lawn, the edges of the driveway. It has always been there. It will always come back. It is waiting for you to stop fighting it. Ever feel like you're just walking past a world you don't fully see? I used to. The trees were just trees. The weeds were just weeds. But what if I told you that the land you walk on every day is a living pharmacy, a pantry, and a history book, all rolled into one? This isn't about some complicated list of 10 miracle plants. It's about something much deeper. It's a way of seeing. It's about transforming your perception of the world around you. Knowing your land not just as a piece of property, but as a living, breathing system that has stories to tell and gifts to offer. If only we learn how to pay attention. Think about it. This knowledge, this connection to the plants, was built over thousands of years right here on this continent. It was almost lost, almost completely erased. But the plants, they never left. They're incredibly resilient. The yarrow still stubbornly spreads along the dusty roadsides. The elder tree keeps its watch by the creek, year after year. And that dandelion you keep trying to pull from your lawn, it just keeps coming back, doesn't it? It has something to teach us about persistence. So, where do you begin? It's simpler than you think. You don't need to become an expert overnight. Just start with one plant. Maybe it's that dandelion in your yard. Maybe it's the plantain growing in the cracks of the sidewalk. Pick one. And I mean really get to know it. Learn its name, its cycles, what it looks like in spring versus fall. Learn its story, its uses, its history. Learn it completely. Once you've made friends with that one plant, then you can learn another. I promise you, within a year, you'll walk through the world in a completely different way. You'll start noticing things you never saw before. That boring ditch by the side of the road won't just be a ditch anymore. You'll see it for what it is, a potential first aid kit, a source of food, a connection to the past. This ancient wisdom, this plant knowledge, it belongs to the land itself. And by extension, it belongs to all of us who live here now. It's our shared inheritance, waiting to be rediscovered. The plants haven't forgotten who they are or what they can do. They've been waiting patiently. We just need to remember how to ask. We need to remember how to listen. Thanks for watching. If this idea resonates with you, give this video a like and subscribe to join me on this journey of rediscovery. Let's learn to see the world together.